Good day and welcome again to this channel. Last time we started talking about the reasons why we have to talk about and discuss gender-based violence with men. Today I want to proceed and highlight the benefits of talking about that to four specific groups of people. 1, the individual. 2, the community. 3, the employer. And fourthly, also the family. So the benefit of talking about gender-based violence to men, to the individual, which means the man himself, is that he would have been confronted with facts, more information about this matter that otherwise you may not have been aware of. So in the first instance, he's now more informed. Secondly, it gives him a chance to reflect on his own behavior and then decide if there is indeed something to tackle. In other words, if there is a problem that needs urgent and serious attention. Third benefit is therefore that if indeed that person realizes that there is a challenge, that he would now have to go and find and get the opportunity to find help. So he does have the opportunity to change his behavior accordingly. The benefit to the family is that the family will now have an individual who is more aware of what the challenge has been in his own life prior to this confrontation or information. And if the individual chooses, therefore, to change his behavior and work on it, they will have a more determined, a more positive-looking individual in the family as a household. Secondly, it means that the value and the norm, in fact, in the household will have changed. The person will come, the man, with a more positive attitude. And in fact, he will bring something to the household as opposed to breaking down. In other words, he'll contribute to the development of the family as a unit as opposed to breaking it down. And thirdly, they would actually also welcome him because he has now realized what is wrong, could have been wrong, and decided to work on it. The third group that is therefore affected and can benefit from change in the man's behavior is the employer. Now, indeed, many employers ask, what does this have to do with me? It is in fact a private matter. It may very well be true, but the benefit of that to the employer is that the individual is now in the employer, in his workplace, and the workspace is now an employee. And what does happen is if the employee is filled with so many questions in his mind and deals with a lot of things, even during work time, his whole and full potential is not exploited and not given to the employer. So, in my view, you will have a more productive employee because I would suggest that a healthy employee is a more productive employee. And here we're obviously talking about mental health. So if the person is more aware of, has had the opportunity to deal with the issues that has been troubling him, he's more healthier on a mental level, and therefore the employer will benefit in that it will get maximum production from such individual. Secondly, the employer would have now also been able to say to the country at large, I have contributed to giving a solution to the issue of gender-based violence to this country. So instead of just hearing about that, instead of just listening about it, instead of just agreeing that it is, I've invited people, motivational speakers and others such as myself, to this company, allow them to speak to my employees and male employees specifically, or more particularly, so that they are aware and they can change their behavior, and I'm part of the solution that I bring to this country. The fourth party, the fourth group of people to benefit from such discussions and talks is the community. In the community, we constantly are looking for role models. So the community needs men who do their best to build up, contribute and develop the environment and the community where they live and where they work and walk in. So the community would have benefited in that there are now more role models. In other words, young men walking the streets of that particular neighborhood, that area, can look up to, instead of pointing to that man and say, he is such a negative influence. An example, they will now be able to refer to him as a positive influence in the community. In other words, older people will be able to say, you must behave, you can behave, you can follow the example of that man who's walking down the street. He is such an example to us, to the younger generation, and even to other men, his peers in this community. The second advantage to the community is that the norm in that society would have been elevated. And by that I mean, instead of people accepting that it is okay and it is a norm and it's a daily occurrence that gender-based violence occurs in this community, that men ill-treat their partners, their spouses, this man would now have contributed and the community would benefit from this man being a role model, and secondly then say the norm in this community will no longer be that men will ill-treat their spouses, their partners, but the norm will be that men will behave and will treat their partners, their spouses, their children, their family, their neighborhood much better. Third benefit to the community is that they, as a community, would have benefited from such behavior in the sense that the whole environment would have been improved, and as such, a better South Africa would have been established. Better South Africa, but also a better world. Remember, many of our people are in fact working, accepting jobs in other countries. So in that capacity, they are ambassadors of that community, of the neighborhood, of the province, of the country, and therefore the better kind of people that we allow to leave the country, the better ambassadors they also become of South Africa. Therefore, the community would have benefited as much. So in summary, the benefits of talking to men in particular about gender-based violence is beneficial to the individual first, the family second, the employer third, and then also the community at large. I believe that this information would help many people to think about their own behavior. Many men, I hope, to want to change their own behavior, and others to encourage them to at least investigate, to at least interrogate, to at least look at themselves in the mirror and say, do I need to change anything that I do towards treating my spouse, towards treating my partner, towards treating females in this community? I believe that this would help and enroll and in help and enlist a positive response. I thank you.